Madam Chair, I think we're live.
All right, we're ready to go?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. This evening is our monthly meeting of the Board of Adjustment. While we're having to change how we operate, we are still committed to a transparent process and encouragement of public comment during our meetings. We will be accepting public comments based on using the hand raise feature. You can raise your hand at any time and we'll recognize you as we get to the public participation portion of the agenda for each case. Director of Planning Joe Vunich will be moderating the Zoom meeting and will be asked to provide names of those individuals that wish to speak again as hands are raised. I would like to call the meeting of the City of Wildwood's Board of Adjustment to order. The board members present today are Deborah Coleman, board member, Arnie Sprunger, board member, Bob Morris, board member, Peter Trapani, alternate, and myself, Mary Giles, chair. The Department of Planning staff present is Joe Vunich, Director of Planning, and Kristen Parker, Administrative Assistant. City Attorney Sam Beffa and Court Reporter Courtney Tallman are also present. First, I offer into the record the affidavit of publication pertaining to today's meeting, June 17th, 2021, and take official notice of the zoning ordinance of City of Wildwood, including Chapter 400, Article 2, authorizing and establishing the Board of Adjustment's powers and duties. Let me explain the hearing procedure. Please be aware the information I'm about to describe is also provided on the Board of Adjustment public hearing procedure handout, which was available online prior and up to tonight's meeting. This hearing is informal in its nature. However, the meeting's proceedings will be recorded by a reporter for future transcription if needed. The petitions are called in the order listed on the agenda. As the petition is called, I will ask a Department of Planning staff member to read each request into the record. Thereafter, the Department of Planning will have opening remarks and a brief slide presentation. Then the petitioner or his or her representative will be asked to state their name and address, be sworn in by the court reporter, and make a brief presentation to the board explaining the nature of the requested variance and the hardship necessitating it. The board will only consider the nature and condition of the property and whether these factors mandate a variance in order to allow for its full utilization. Board members may ask questions to clarify the facts of the petitioner's presentation. When the board is satisfied with the material presented by the petitioner, the chair will then ask if there's anyone present online who would like to speak in favor or opposition to the request. Each speaker will be asked to provide their name and address, be sworn in, and then state their comments. Procedurally, the petitioner may request a continuance at any time during the hearing prior to a call for the vote in order to bring in additional documentation or information. The board may also request a continuance to gather additional information or for a further visit to the site. After the conclusion of input from all interested parties, the board will ask the staff person to provide the Department of Planning's report on this matter if requested by any member of the board, the petitioner, or any individual that is participating online. Additionally, any other information not presented in the previous testimony but pertinent to the request will be noted at this time. Once all speakers have been heard, the chair will call for a motion to grant or deny with or without conditions. Then the board will vote. At that time, the discussion relating to the petition is concluded and no further input will be permitted. The board will generally make a decision today. 4 members of the board must vote in favor of the petition for it to be approved. If a variance is approved, the petitioner has 6 months to obtain the necessary permits or establish the use, or it will expire. If the board's decision is unfavorable, the petitioner has the right of appeal to the St. Louis County Circuit Court. The appeal must be done within 30 days of the decision. Mr. Vunich, are there any questions at this time?
Madam Chair, if you'll just give me a moment to explain to the attendees, if you have a question at this time regarding the information that was just read into the record by the chair, if you would please use the raise hand feature or type into the chat feature you'd like to have a question answered, and I'll promote you to panelist. Thank you. Madam Chair, if we could give a...
Hearing no questions at this time, the board will proceed.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
I think we're okay to go.
All right. Hearing no questions at this time, the board will proceed. Please read the first request into the record, which will be followed by initial comments by the Department of Planning and a brief slide presentation.
Madam Chair and members of the board, the first case tonight is Board of Adjustment Case 7-21, Carrie and George Stump, 15516 Peach Hill Court, Unit 701, Chesterfield, Missouri, 63017. requesting its exception to the natural resource protection standards for the purpose of installing a fence, aluminum type, to be 54 inches in height upon the property located at 627 Old State Place Drive, located number 24U 240563 Old State Place Subdivision, Lot 1, which would thereby authorize the structure to be placed within the natural resource protection area, which is fully protected. The extent of encroachment into said area would encompass a majority of the rear yard of this 0.45 acre lot from the rear facade of the dwelling along the perimeters of both side yard areas and include a portion of the rear yard space as well. This request is contrary to the requirements of Chapter 420.200 Natural Resource Protection Standards and Procedures of the City of Wildwood Subdivision and Development Regulations, Chapter 415.120 R1A 22,000 square foot resident district of the City of Wildwood zoning ordinance, and planned residential development overlay district, PRD number 1147, which was approved by the Wildwood City Council in 2005. This particular request does not offer an exchange in the protected and non-protected area as a component of it, but does include a landscaping component. The property is located in 7. Madam Chair, before Ms. Parker provides a brief slide presentation, with your permission, the department would like to enter into the record the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. The file that has been developed and maintained by the Department of Planning regarding this particular request, and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, any testimony, exhibits, plats, or other items offered as part of tonight's hearing. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Director Bunich.
And if Ms. Parker would like to share a screen, we can get started with the slide presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, can everybody see?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. The first slide is showing the area where the petitioner's home is located. It is off of Old State Place Drive, right here where this little blue spot is. It's part of the Old State Place subdivision. Old State Road borders right here on this portion of the property. Lake Chesterfield is up in this area, with Highway 100 up in this area as well. And this is the Ellisville city line right here, this purple line. And this is an aerial of the petitioner's property right here in the blue. And it is a new construction with the home facing Old State Place Drive right here. The natural resource protection area is in this area back here. And this part right here next to the home being constructed is common ground, as well as this area back here. And that belongs to the Chesterfield Shores subdivision. And the lot is a little bit over 19,700 square feet. This is showing the elevation. And the lot is more flat up here in the front, and it slopes back down a little bit more here in the back and to the side. You'll see that in the photographs. This is the front of the home being constructed. I'm standing here on Old State Place Drive, looking straight at the home. And again, I'm standing on Old State Place Drive, looking to the left of the home, right here. This is Old State Road right down here. And I am standing over on the left side of the home, a little bit moved over to the left side, looking at the left side of the home looking more into the back. Here I am on the back side of the home. This is the rear of the home being constructed, and this is the natural resource protection area back here where the petitioners are requesting the fence. Here I'm standing in the street looking to the right of the home, and over here is that common ground area I had mentioned before. I'm standing over in that right side area, looking at the right side of the home with the backyard area over here. A little bit closer to that backyard area on the right-hand side. The natural resource protection area is back in here. Just a little bit closer view of that backyard. Old State Road is back behind there. This is the neighbor's home directly across the street. This is the entrance to Old State Place subdivision. So here is the subdivision street, and over to the right of that is Old State Road. Now I am across on the opposite side of Old State Road, looking at the petitioner's home. So this is the left side of the home and the rear yard area back here. Again, I am across Old State, looking at the entrance to the subdivision. Petitioner's home on the left. I'm standing in front of the petitioner's home, and this is looking into the subdivision street there. Standing in the same spot, the petitioner's home is over here to the right, and this is facing Old State Road. So again, this is the entrance to the subdivision. This is standing at that entrance again, and this is looking down Old State Road here. Petitioner's home would be over here on the right. Here's a description of the proposed fence. It's 54-inch aluminum black fence. And here is the subdivision right here. The petitioner's home is over here with that proposed fence area. Again, a little bit closer view. This blue line is the property line around the fence, or around the property. Pink right here is the home that's under construction. This little green line is the natural resource protection area. So this area back here is that protected area. And this is the proposed fence right here. And then this is the proposed landscaping around the fence and the details of the different plants and bushes to be planted. These are the comments we've received for this matter. Petitioner's home is here. The red X's are comments we received that were in opposition to the variance. And there's a green circle here and a green circle here, and those are in support of the variance. The department would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have a question. Yeah, Kristen, so the area where the fence is going to go, and I tried to get that from the pictures. Good job, by the way, on the pictures.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is most of the area that would be in the fence, is that grassy, just pretty much grass?
It is grassy. Let me go back. This part right here is grassy, and this is where they're building right now. So I believe the stumps will have grass, and then the perimeter outside of the fence will be the trees and bushes that they have proposed.
And the topography, it looks like, is, I mean, it's not perfectly flat, but it's not a real aggressive slope, is it?
No.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, before having Carrie Stump present their proposal, I do want to note that this particular request was heard by the board at its April 2021 meeting and was postponed with the request from the members to submit a landscape plan for this purpose. And so you do now have a landscape plan per your request. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bunich. At this time, can the petitioner please state your name, address in relation to the property, and then be sworn in by the court reporter?
Hold on, Joe, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I lost everything. I got kicked out.
Ooh,
You guys all froze on me and then it kicked me out and I came back in and so it stopped. I stopped on. And then she said, Madam Chair, I stopped on Ms. Parker.
so that's the entirety of the slide presentation, I assume.
No, I got most of the slide presentation. It was after Mr. Sprunger asked about the grassy area and she was talking about the grassy area. And then I think you came in and said some stuff too.
Yes, ma'am.
I lost everything you said.
Well, again, if Ms. Parker would respond to Mr. Sprunger's question one more time so we can get it on the record, and then I'll explain what I just provided to the board as well.
Hey, Courtney. Okay, I had responded that it is a grassy area. Right now, there is the construction that has taken place. So there is the dirt area back there, but the area where the fence will be a grassy area with a landscaping around outside of the fence.
And the
Ms.
topography,
Tallman.
I think that's another important thing, because as we think about the natural resource protection areas, if I understand correctly from Mr. Vunich, that what we're trying to do there is we're trying to prevent runoff and erosion and things like that. So, you know, one of the things that I look at a lot is just how aggressive is that area in terms of slope and that sort of thing. And it looked as if from the picture that there is some slope, but it's pretty gradual.
Thank you, Mr. Sprunger.
Yeah.
It's pretty flat.
And Ms. Tallman, I had just advised the chair as well as the board members that this particular request had been heard by the Board of Adjustment at the April 2021 meeting, and the matter was postponed to give the opportunity to the petitioners to submit a landscape plan, which was requested by the board, and a landscape plan has been provided. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bunich. Can the petitioner please come forward and state your name, address in relation to the property and be sworn in by the court reporter?
Hi, everyone. My name's Carrie Stump. Thanks for listening to me tonight. My address is 15516 Peach Hill Court, apartment 701 in Chesterfield. And what else did you ask me to say?
Your relationship to the property?
Owner.
Thank you. And can you please be sworn in by the court reporter?
Yes. Right.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stump. Can you please explain the nature of your request and the hardship or practical difficulty necessitating the variance as it relates to the character of your property?
Yes. We first off weren't told anything about the natural area back there. We just figured we had a ½ acre of ground back there and we put a fence, not even probably halfway back, because we have lots of grandkids and 2 dogs, and we are right there on the road, and it is so busy there. We're by that house every day. We're still not in it. they're taking forever. That's another story, but it's just been horrible. But I do want you, the landscaper we went to, we're gonna make it look nicer than that. It'll be alternated and stuff, and it is very expensive. So, we really do feel we need the fence. The neighbors across the street just put the same fence up and it looks really nice. And I know the builder gave some ground for them, but I get upset about it. I don't want to cry, but I don't understand. We have a half acre. You can have all our ground past that fence. We just need a fence. And they have the same lot as we do, same distance to the road. And I went by the people last month that someone had put a fence on the ground and on their property, and they weren't supposed to. And they had a variance meeting to see if they could keep it. And they were okay to keep it. And I went by that $1 million home, and yet they weren't by a busy road. It was just a backyard. They didn't have any that I could see any hardship reason why they needed it except to take it down, which would really be a drag. I mean, I get that. I mean, I totally would apply for it too. I just don't want my grandkids running out to that road. I'm sorry. We're very emotional because the builder's just been something else. But that's pretty much it. We just don't want our grandkids getting killed on the road or our dog.
All right, thank you, Ms. Stump. Do any board members have any questions for the petitioner?
So, Mrs. Stump, the plan that was provided to us, are you saying that that's not really quite the plan?
Well, it is the plan, but the pictures just don't do it justice. It's gonna look nicer than the pictures. On those pictures, it just looks like it's lined up, but it's gonna actually be, look more natural.
Yeah, one thing I was a little curious about on the plan, it looks like you have quite a few plantings that you are planning to do in the landscape. In fact, it looks like there's so many that they're almost all joined together to the point where you might not even see the fence. Is that
Well,
what you're trying
yeah,
to?
it's hard. It was hard for them because it depends, when they grow, we don't want them to be full. So I just wanted it to have enough, because I didn't want to be denied. I wanted at least enough to where, but when they actually do the planting, they'll take a couple out if they have to, depending on the size at the time that we plant them.
Well, no, I think it's great because in a way you almost have created a natural fence with all of your plantings with a fence on the inside that is really the main containment strategy, it looks like to me.
Correct. But I can't just plant trees. I need a fence with my grandkids and my dogs. Did I say that wrong? I think I said that wrong. I just can't plant the plants. I don't.
Thank you, Ms. Stump. Are there any other questions from the board members for the petitioner?
I do have one more thing to
At
say.
this time, I'm going to open the floor to any.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Stump.
I wasn't going to bring this up, but I do have a handicap, but I do not, as I told Kristen, I don't want it made a record because I don't want public to know, because I don't want a weirdo coming to my house. I do wear braces on my legs. I was in a car accident when I was 17, so I can't run after my grandkids. But I don't want that in there.
Well, Mrs. Stump, I think you've provided enough of an explanation. I don't think we need to hear any more.
Thank you,
relative
Ms.
to
Stump.
that.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Director Bunich. Are there any speakers in the audience who want to speak in favor of our opposition to the request?
Again, Madam Chair, if there is anyone in the attendees that would like to speak in favor or opposition, if you would please use the raise hand feature or put in chat you'd like to speak, then I will promote you to a panelist. Madam Chair, could we give them just a second or two?
Sure.
Madam Chair, I see no hands raised nor anything in chat. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Bunich. At this time, I'll offer the opportunity to hear an oral presentation of the department's report. Seeing no requests for that, I'll offer the board the opportunity for the Department of Planning the opportunity to make any final comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair and members of the board, as the department mentioned at the start of the discussion, this particular request was presented in April 2021, and the department's report was not favorable. The department's report tonight is favorable for two principal reasons. First and foremost, I don't think it was made quite as clear as it needed to be in April that the fence does not encompass all of the rear yard. A remainder of the rear yard area will be unfenced and will have no impact on the resource protection area. Secondly, the submittal of the landscape plan goes a long way in the department's opinion to addressing the stormwater management components that Mr. Sprunger mentioned in questioning some of the slide and photos that were provided. I would also just remind the board that the extent of the encroachment into the resource protection area is 171 linear feet on basically a half-acre lot. Acknowledging those changes and items that the department wanted to emphasize, it is recommending the board support the request. If there are any questions or comments of the Department of Planning, the Director and Ms. Parker would be glad to answer them at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bunich. Do any board members have any final comments?
So
All
Joe,
right,
I just want to make sure I heard you right. In terms of the goal of the natural resource protection, to make sure that it's as stable as possible, those plantings, in your opinion, would actually help provide stability for the land and the soil and runoff and that sort of thing? I mean, it's actually a net positive. Is that correct?
That is the opinion of the department, and it's premised on that each raindrop, when it strikes soil, it actually causes a bit of disturbance and potential for siltation and then erosion. What stops that or slows it are plantings, trees, bushes, shrubs, etc. So the addition of the landscape component to this fence, in the department's opinion, goes a long way to resolving any potential concerns.
Thank you. Thank you.
I do have a comment. Ms. Stump, I know you're very emotional and we appreciate you taking the extra mile and cost to do this. And I think you're actually enhancing it because the root systems also will hold soil in. So I think this is a great mitigation feature that you're doing, plus the fence and it's how it's be hidden. So I think it's actually enhancing and holding the soil in place better. So I congratulate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Morris, go ahead.
He's on mute.
Mr. Morris, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now? Mrs. Samba, I think you did a good research on it, and I think you did a good job backing it up.
Thank you very much.
All right, are there any other board members that have any final comments? Seeing none at this time, I'll close the proceeding before a vote, and I'll ask for a motion to approve, deny, or approve with conditions.
I'll make a motion to approve as requested.
Thank you, Mr. Sprunger. We have a motion to approve from Board Member Sprunger. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. We have a second. Mr. Trapani, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Coleman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Sprunger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Thank you, Ms. Stump. Your variance has been approved.
Thank you all so much, and thank you all for your service as well. I know you've
Thank you,
taken
Ms.
time
Stump.
to be there.
And
And
lucky
someday
you.
I might be on that board, because I've given.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. Thanks
You
again.
too.
Bye-bye.
All right, are we ready for the next petition to be read into the record?
Madam Chair, if you are, I'm ready to go.
Let's do it.
Thank you, ma'am. The next case is Board of Adjustment 9-21, Patrick Tuith, 251 Cherry Hills Meadows Drive, Wildwood, Missouri, 63040. Requests an exception to the minimum yard requirements general for the purpose of constructing a sport court upon the property located at 251 Cherry Hills Meadows Drive, locator number 240628, lot 32 of the Meadows of Cherry Hills subdivision, which would thereby authorize a rear yard setback distance of 10 feet in lieu of the required 30 feet. This request is contrary to the requirements of Chapter 415.140 R3 10,000 square foot resident district of the City of Wildwood zoning ordinance and St. Louis County Planned Environment Unit, PEU, ordinance number 16676, 1993. The property is located in Ward 8. Madam Chair, before Ms. Parker provides a brief slide presentation with your permission, the department would like to enter into the record the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code. This is the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. The file that has been developed and maintained by the Department of Planning regarding this particular request and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, all items offered as evidence at tonight's hearing, which would include any testimony, exhibits, plats, or other items that are considered. Thank you, Madam Chair. And with your permission, Ms. Parker can share screen and provide the slide presentation.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, on this first screen, we're looking at a full overview. The little blue dot right down here is the petitioner's home off of Cherry Hills Meadows. And up here, we have Manchester Road, so it's south of Manchester. And we have the Deerbergs Plaza over here, City Hall over here, and Village Hills Parkway is kind of over here to the west. So it is in the Meadows of Cherry Hills subdivision. This is an overview of the petitioner's home off of Cherry Hills Meadows Lane. It's a single-family ranch style home. The Villages of Oak Park subdivision, actually back up to it over here. The lot is partially fenced on this left-hand side. The lot's a little bit over 8,700 square feet. This is showing the elevation. The lot is generally flat. There's a very tiny slope on the right side of the property. Here's the front of petitioner's home. Over here is the home on the left of petitioner's home. This is looking from the sidewalk on this space in between petitioner and the house on the left. You can see the little stake here shows a property line. This is walking up to that little fence right here with a gate looking into the backyard. It's a little bit closer, seeing a patio, a basketball hoop, and part of this backyard. It's even a little bit closer with the landscaping. There is a fence over here on this side. This is the property to the right of the Tuoths. I'm on the sidewalk looking in between Tuoths and the property to the right. There's another little stake showing the property line. And I have now walked up to the backyard. So I am on this right side of the home, looking into the backyard. See, it's generally flat. There's a tiny little slope here. This area back here that is not fenced is not the Tuoths land back there. Sitting over to the right side of the property, looking into the full backyard here. And this is a general area here where the sport court is proposed, 10 feet from the fence, and I believe 6 feet over from this right side area. Now they're kind of standing in the back corner looking towards the petitioner's home. This is standing in the backyard area. This is the side of the right, and the house on the right side of the petitioner's home, the rear side. And that is looking over to the home on the left side of the Tuoths from the backyard area. Again, this is a portion that does not belong to the Tuoths. It belongs to a resident back here in the next subdivision. The line is pretty much right here at this fence line. This is the home across the street from the Tuoths. The subdivision, the Meadows at Cherry Hills. And this is looking north. I'm standing directly in front of the petitioner's property. So the home is over here on the left. And here I am looking south, and the home is over here on the right. This is a drawing of the proposed sport court. It is 38 by 25. And here is the survey done showing the placement of the sport court, 25 by 38, with a 10 foot from the property line, 6 foot from the right side. This red line shows the property line. The pink is the existing home. This green line right here is that fence, partial fence. Orange is that proposed sport court. And this is a 30-foot setback line right here. So it is showing 10 foot from this back line. These are the comments we've received. This is petitioner's home here. We did have 3 support comments, none that were not in support. The department would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Madam Chair, I have promoted the petitioner, so he is on screen at this time. And if there are any questions regarding the slide presentation, I'm sure Ms. Parker would be glad to respond to them. Thank you.
Thank you. If there aren't any questions from the board for the Director of Planning, at this time, can the petitioner please come forward and state your name, address in relation to the property and be sworn in by the court reporter?
My apologies. Thank you all for your time today. I certainly appreciate it. My name is Patrick Tuoth. I am the owner at 251 Cherry Hills Meadows Drive. Is that all for now?
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, can you explain the nature of your request and the hardship or practical difficulty necessitating the variance that relates to the character of your property?
Absolutely. So just a quick rundown. My wife and I, Jamie, have been residents here for 11 years. And over the past 11 years, I wish I had a before and after picture. I do not. We have regraded the whole property. So when we got here, it was just kind of a mess of like ground up tires, and it was just not flat. And we've spent about $22,000 in the past 11 years regrading it, getting the grass to grow. You saw the landscaping, really trying to make this a park-like setting for ourselves and for our kids, increasing the property value. So we kind of started on the north side of the property where you saw the fencing and the current existing court. My son is 9 years old and he's planning on being the next Steph Curry. We'll see if this happens, but he's absolutely outgrown this court. So I wanted to mention his abilities because I feel like I'd be doing an injustice to him. He's 9 years old. He's already hitting NBA three-pointers. He's a part of Larry Hughes Basketball Association. They were ranked in the top 25 nationwide for 9U basketball. So with there being kind of a lack of outdoor courts, and again, outgrowing our existing space, we want to do something high-end for him. And that's where the sport court came in. So you mentioned the hardship. There has been a hardship. As I mentioned, we kind of started on one side, the north side, regraded that area, put in a sump pump. We all know Wildwood has water issues, right? So on the north side, we put a sump pump in. We have it going out, 10 feet from the curb, which I think was the requirement. It's great. It did away with a lot of the water on one side. What that did on the south side was pool up water down there. So we looked at this as an opportunity to not only put in a sport court, but also to solve the existing standing water. Chris, I don't know if you want to go back, but one of those pictures, right when she walked into the backyard, you could see a green catch basin. That catch basin, even if we have 30 minutes of a sprinkle, that thing is 3/4 of the way full. It's been like that for 11 years. It's just a mosquito haven and a pit. And it's really been frustrating for a number of years. So yes, exactly. That little green part right there, I've tried barreling water for years, tried to get it out of there. We've got basically a connection of 4 of our downspouts that lead to there, and it goes nowhere. So our thought process at the beginning of this whole thing was, let's find a way to do away with that water. So Austin from Sport Court St. Louis, who's actually on the call with us here today, he is on vacation, bless his heart, for still hopping on from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Thank you, sir. But he has a solution of being able to set up a catch basin, run the PVC pipe in the similar manner that we do on the other side of our house, out towards the front of the property, have a pop-up drain, again, keeping it within the boundaries. On that same side, the boundary is 6 feet. We're not going to encroach on that whatsoever. The only part we're going to encroach on is on the back part of the property. This is where 3 of our neighbors come together, 2 from the villages and ourselves. And it's just a part, it's not common ground, but since we've been here for 11 years, it's basically common ground. The Kiefers are great. They let us use it to play ball. And we are not going to be anywhere, inside of 10 feet. We're still 10 feet away from it. We have agreed with the Kiefers to put up a line of arborvitae trees to create both a soundproof barrier and a visual barrier. We're also going to be putting up a net, a catch net, which isn't required. It is an added expense, but we thought it'd be the neighborly thing to do, to have a catch net, so no bouncing balls, going flying into the neighbors' opposing properties. Also with the trees, we felt like that would be a barrier as well. Let's see, court placement and design. So you saw a quick picture on it. I just wanted to mention as well, if we were to stay within the boundaries, we'd be looking at, basically not even half of a free throw court. So again, with our son being 9, almost 10 years old, we wanted to design something that would at least be able to allow him to get the 3-point shot off. So as you can see on the corners, we're not even encroaching on this. 25 by 38 is not quite a half court. It's cutting it off pretty well, but we felt like, we wanted a little bit bigger. We felt like this was a good in between to kind of fit, the natural surrounding. It's also a green court. So when you walk out, it's going to look very similar to, the grass that's out there already, very neutral colors with the gray border. I want to bring in Austin right now if he wants to share a little bit about his game plan on how to mitigate that water, but it sounds like we're going to be able to tie in the neighbors as well. He's kind of got a standing water problem that's sunken into his basement that he shared with me. So Austin has a plan to kind of bring together both of the houses that have standing water issues and run those both in the same pipe going out towards the front. So I'll let Austin take it from here.
And Madam Chair, I think I got him finally. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And Madam
Austin,
Chair.
are you there?
And just a reminder, he'll need to be sworn in too.
Right.
Hi, Mary. You there?
Hi, Austin. Can you please state your name? Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm on a beach in South Carolina, so. Can you hear me?
Can you please state, I can. Can you state your name and your address and then be sworn in by the court reporter?
My name is Austin Helfers, address 343 Great Oaks Drive, Labadie, Missouri. Owner of Sport Court, St. Louis.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Austin. Go ahead.
Okay, so to elaborate on what Patrick was saying, I guess I was throwing a little bit of a curveball here. I didn't realize it was a 30-foot setback off the back property line. When I originally reached out to Travis on this, I was more under the impression it was a 20-foot setback. I mean, I'm on vacation, but I'll have to dig through emails. So that was a little bit of a curveball. But to elaborate on the drainage system, so I believe the property to the north, from what Patrick has told me, has already had some foundation issues and basement water issues. And any lay person, you go out there, you can see Patrick's got 4 downspouts going to a catch basin, and the neighbor's got a couple downspouts going to a pop-up emitter right there, and the water's got nowhere to go. So I think Patrick was trying to put his best foot forward here and say, hey, let's take care of this while we're doing the court, because this has got to be moved anyway. Did a little give and take and is willing to put that catch basin in with the French drainage system and pipe it to the front of the property. I think it's going to help him and the neighbor more so than him, to be honest with you, because the neighbor's at a lower elevation.
All right. Thank you, Austin.
Okay, no problem.
Do any board members have any questions for the petitioner or for Mr. Helfers? All right. Are there any speakers in the audience who wish to speak in favor of or opposition to the request?
And again, Madam Chair, if I could just have a second. We do have a attendee that's raised their hand, so I'll promote that individual right now.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Madam Chair, I believe it's Mr. Boyd, so thank you.
All right. Mr. Boyd, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Can you please state your name and address and then be sworn in by the court reporter?
Yeah, of course. James Boyd, 247 Cherry Hills, Meadows Drive.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Boyd, would you like to speak in favor of or opposition to the request?
Kind of neither, honestly, and not to throw a curveball. our biggest concern going forward with this was when it was brought up by Patrick and Jamie, who are our neighbors, and love them, great people, and nothing personal at all. We're all for a court going in. Our biggest concern was the proximity closest to our house. I know it's in variation with the 6-foot setback that's included by the city, which is it's less than 20 feet from our actual house. So that's kind of our biggest concern moving forward if it gets approved. The stormwater runoff was an issue as well. We have had some issues regarding the storm drainage heading south. And my biggest fear is just putting a cord in, even with the PVC piping going out, it's still going to have access of water standing in that area. And the runoff is a major issue. But so we're not like opposed to it, but just the proximity of it closest to our house is a concern, just because it is so close, even with the city 6-foot setback. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Do any board members have any questions for Mr. Boyd? All right. Are there any other speakers in the audience who want to speak in favor of or opposition to the request? All right.
Madam Chair.
Sure.
Oh, sorry. We seem to be on the same wavelength tonight, so my apology. I was just going to say no one's entered anything in the chat,
All
nor
right.
is there any attendees raised their hand.
Okay. In that case, at this time, I'll offer the opportunity to hear an oral presentation of the department's request. See no request for that. I'll offer the Department of Planning an opportunity to make any final comments.
Madam Chair, I believe the petitioner would like to speak before we move into the conclusion of the hearing and then a potential vote.
Okay.
I just
Patrick,
want
go
to
ahead.
mention, and James, thanks for hopping on and sharing that. I just want to mention with the proximity close to the home, one of the things that we took into account when we were doing this court was we got bids from about 4 different people that do courts. 2 of them were just similar, like concrete pads, you're just throwing out concrete. Another was more of a court. And the reason that Austin won our business in this situation is because the sport court's actually sound mitigation. It's low impact. So not only is it good for your joints and for jumping, but the actual sound effect of the ball is far diminished when putting in a high-end court like this. In addition to that, we have discussed, and we haven't found an agreement yet, but we have described different scenarios where we could put up some cypress trees, maybe some arborvitaes like we have on the other side, plant them a lot closer, not only reducing the impact of the sound, which again is going to be lower with the sport court, but also the impact of the visuals. We're on board with making this a high-end look, and absolutely take into effect James and Amy, since they've come along. They've done a great job at their yard. So we only want to continue building up this backyard, making it a park-like setting, and by all means, whatever we agree on, we're open to planting trees or whatever it may be to create a good buffer that's a acceptable solution for everybody. So I just want to mention that. Thank you.
Patrick, I have a question for you. Maybe I missed this or don't quite understand it, but you had mentioned, and I think James did too, about some water issues and how it's been a bit of a challenge to you all. And I think I'm somewhat familiar with what sport courts are, but if you put in a sport court and you get a pretty good rain, that's not going to absorb anything. So how do you mitigate, not going backward by having runoff from the sport court? Walk us through that again, if you would, please.
Sure. And I apologize for not a great picture. Again, Austin's enjoying South Carolina, so we haven't gotten a super good game plan, but we did draw this up together the last couple days. So I'm going to hold this up in front here. I don't know. Can you guys even see this at all?
Well,
Not really.
barely.
Okay, so what we got here, let me do the best I can. This is a catch basin. No, I'm not even getting it. I'm sorry. All right, so do the best I can here. I'm just going to talk through it. So there's already a catch basin there that you guys saw, that little catch basin. Basically, the way it's going to work, it's going to be extended just another maybe 12 to 16 inches, right? So we're going to have a laser leveled court. It's going to have a slow slope going back towards the French drain that exists today. That catch basin is going to be elongated a little bit. It's going to have gravel in it. It's also going to have a PVC pipe that connects with James's issue. Having those connect and meet up and then run straight out to the front of the property. I can't stress enough how much of like just like a sunken pit this is, from not only the south side James's area, but from our side. And we're kind of at the top of the hill. So it's kind of strange how this has worked, but it kind of comes down almost to a bowl shaped holding there. So when Austin came over and looked at it, he's like, this is pretty simple. We're already, just moving it down towards the front. There's already a natural slope once you get to the front of our property. So that little bowl, for lack of a better term, it's going to be just an elongated gravel catch basin that is going to have bigger PVC. It's going to be stronger. I think the number we came up with was 3 inches per hour. It's going to be able to pump out to the front. So this is going to be heavy duty, mitigation. And again, what exists today is pipes to nowhere that just creates more of a bowl over time. It's just going to get worse and worse. So I'm confident, Austin's confident. We believe this is a solution to really dry out that section of backyard. And it's a great question, but yeah, with the slow slope of the court heading out that way, pumping out 3 inches per hour, I think we're going to have problems solved for the next row of 3 to 4 houses down the way, to be honest.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the petitioner? All right, at this time, I will offer the Department of Planning the opportunity to make any final comments.
Well, Madam Chair, you as the chair and the board members have received the department's report with recommendation, which is not favorable. The rationale for the recommendation not to support the variance was premised primarily on the stormwater management issue, much of what Mr. Tuath has provided tonight was not part of the application packet. And so the department was unable to basically understand what was being proposed and certainly share it with the impacted neighbor. And I'm sure Mr. Tuath would not like this, but if the board is inclined not to support this, I would request first a postponement. The postponement would give the opportunity for the department to meet with Mr. Tuath, the petitioner, and Mr. Boyd, the nearby neighbor, along with the provider, Mr. Helfers, and talk about stormwater management, the location of the outdoor game court, the landscaping that was mentioned, and also the 15-foot easement that parallels the rear property line. I want to make sure that easement isn't actively used, because if the outdoor game court would encroach into it, there's a potential that if the easement needs to be disturbed, the outdoor game court gets disturbed. The delay would be 30 days, and I know a delay is never something the petitioners like, but I think that time could be well spent answering a lot of the questions and getting better information for the board to make the best informed decision. If there's any questions of the department, I'd be glad to answer them at this time. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, Joe, I think that makes a lot of sense, at least to me, because when I think about, it's amazing what happens when it rains really hard, I mean, and even though it's like 3 inches per hour, what happens when it's like 3 inches in 10 minutes, I mean, sometimes we get those kinds of rains. And so, Patrick, I appreciate the fact that you want to make sure that you help mitigate that runoff issue, but as nicely as I can say this, it feels a little bit like we're winging this. I mean, with the best of all intentions, but I don't know that there's a real clear understanding of, what size PVC really do you need? What size basin is really going to mitigate the problem and things like that. So it does seem like that makes a lot of sense to, kind of take a step back and make sure that as you're designing this and putting this together, that you are in fact going to resolve the very issue that you want to resolve. So I think that makes a lot of sense, but at any rate, that's just my 2 cents.
And again, members of the board, I can't force the petitioner to basically accept the postponement. And certainly if he doesn't want to, I understand. But again, I just offer that as an opportunity to get all the involved parties together and hopefully find a solution. Otherwise, the department stands by its recommendation. We're losing the stormwater battle in a lot of the developed subdivisions. In this particular subdivision, we have several locations, one of which I've been working on for the better part of a year, and we haven't been able to resolve it. So I don't want to create any more. Thank you.
Mr. Tooth, do you have any thoughts on postponing it?
30-day postponement is fine. That's fine by us. All for it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bunich, how do we do that from here? Do I just request a motion to postpone for 30 days?
Yes, ma'am. It would be a request to postpone to the next meeting of the Board of Adjustment, which is in July. And there would be a need for a motion. Second, and we could just do a voice vote. And what I would suggest too is, again, my appreciation to the petitioner. I'm not trying to stall things, but I certainly think there's a lot we could do to alleviate some of the questions that I'm sure the board has. And to Mr. Boyd, your neighbor, and to Mr. Helfers, if you would, I'd like to have you all be able to meet. We can meet out at the site at a time that's agreeable to everyone, and we can try to work through these things together. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bunich. At this time, I'd like to close the proceeding and ask for a motion to postpone until our July meeting.
I'll second it.
I need a motion. Do you want to make a motion, Mr. Trapani? You're on mute.
I second the motion.
Random motion.
I'll make a motion to postpone for 30 days. How's that?
Thank you, Mr. Sprunger. Do we have a second?
If Pete wants to make the motion, I'll
Ms.
second.
Coleman, are you seconding it?
Somebody second.
Thank you. All right, we have a second. Thank you. Ms. Coleman, I'm going to take your second. Mr. Morris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Trapani, how do you vote?
I can do this one, yes. Yes.
All right, Mr. Springer, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Ms. Coleman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I also vote yes to postpone this until our July meeting. Thank you, Mr. Tuith, and good luck with the planning for the next month.
Thank you. We'll see you in a month. And do you
All
guys
right.
have the date by chance?
Do we have that date, Kristen?
It's the 15th.
Okay, thank you
July
so much.
15th.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All right, at this time, can we get the next petition to be read into the record?
Yes, ma'am. The next case is Board of Adjustment 11-21, Robert and Geraldine Specker, 16225 Berryview Court, Wildwood, Missouri 63011. Request an exception to the minimum yard requirements general for the purpose of constructing a deck and screen pavilion area at 16225 Berryview Court, located number 22U540382, Turnberry Place, Plat 1, Lot 708, which would thereby authorize a rear yard setback distance of 12 feet in lieu of 30 feet. This request is contrary to the requirements of Chapter 415.120 R1A 22,000 square foot resident district of the City of Wildwood zoning ordinance and St. Louis County Planned Environment Unit number 13439 that was approved in 1987. This particular property is located in Ward 2. And Madam Chair, before Ms. Parker provides a slide presentation with your permission, the department would like to introduce into the record the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. A file that has been developed and maintained regarding this particular case and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, any evidences that is provided as part of tonight's hearing. That evidence could include all testimony, exhibits, plats, and other items offered. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Director Vunich. Ms. Parker, go ahead.
Okay, this is a full overview of the area. We have the little blue square here, which is the Berryview Court. It's in Turnberry Place subdivision. This is south of Clayton Road. Strucker is over here to the west. We have the Elegant Child and Zix right here on these corners. Here's the property on Berryview Court. It's a single family home. There is common ground back here to the rear of the property, and the lot is a little bit over 11,300 square feet. And here is the elevation. The home is at the highest point of the lot, and this backyard does slope down back here towards the rear. And here is the front of petitioner's home. This is the home to the left side of petitioner. I'm standing on the sidewalk looking on the left side between the two homes towards the backyard. And here I'm back in that left-hand corner looking into the backyard back here. And this is the existing patio here. And here's kind of a view of that backyard landscaped area. It's pretty heavily landscaped back here in the back with trees and bushes. And here I'm standing back in that back landscaped portion looking at the back of the home. And the proposed area is that we're talking about. There is a deck being proposed right here with a pavilion right here. So the pavilion is the area that's going out into the setback. You're standing back in the landscaped area looking over to the left side of this backyard. So that would be the home to the right is over here. And here I'm standing over looking over to the other side, and that would be the home to the left of petitioner with this patio area here. A little bit closer view. The petitioner said that they are planning to put the deck at this door level. So it is going to be raised up a little bit right here. And there's going to be steps down. They're keeping that dining area over here of the patio. A little bit closer. Here's that door area. So it will be this height. It's another view. So this is the area that will stay. And there will be steps down to this area. And then the pavilion area here with some steps down. That's the home to the right side of petitioner. That's looking from the sidewalk between petitioner and the home to the right. It's a home across the street. It is a part of Turnberry Place subdivision at Turnberry Place in Clayton. that is looking west. In front, I am standing in front of petitioner's home. The petitioner's home is over here to the right. And that's looking towards the entrance to the street. Petitioner's home's on the left. And here's the drawing for that new deck and the pavilion here. And the existing patio is staying with some steps here. This is showing the existing home and where the deck and the pavilion will be placed, necessitating the variance for this area here. And you will note that part of the home is in that area already because the original rear setback was 15 feet for that original plat with St. Louis County. The red line around is the property line. The pink is the existing home. This yellow is the setback area. And you'll see that the proposed deck and pavilion are in this area. It's just going right over the existing patio.
I see.
And here is a photo that petitioner has provided showing that this area behind his home is the common ground back here. So that is wooded and it is common ground. We've had 3 comments. This is petitioner's home. The 3 comments were in support. We did not receive any comments not in support. The department would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Are there any questions for the Department of Planning at this time? All right, can the petitioner please come forward and state your name, address, and relationship to the property, and then be sworn in by the court reporter?
I've gotten myself unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Do I click on video or share screen for the next part?
Video.
Okay. So I clicked on video. I don't see any change on my screen. Oh, start my video. There we go. Red shirt, that's me. So my name is Robert Specker. I live at my wife and I live at 16225 Berryview Court, Wildwood, Missouri, 63011 in Turnberry Place subdivision.
All right, can you please be sworn in by the court reporter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you please explain the nature of your request and the hardship or practical difficulty of necessitating the variance as it relates to the character of your property?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Parker alluded to the 30-foot setback, which is consistent with various Wildwood zoning ordinances, but when the house was built in 1989, 15 feet is all that's required. The deck surface, which we are would like to build itself, the surface will be within that 15-foot setback, but we are outdoor people, and I hope that the pictures of our backyard and the vegetation back there show that. And we would like to have a covered gazebo-like structure, pavilion, if you will, with space for a table and chairs, and it'll be screened in and whatnot. And in order to make that fit, we would like to cantilever one wall of that structure out into the air 3 feet additional. That's where the 15-foot minus 3 feet yields a 12-foot setback. There will be no encroachment on the setback in the earth, no pillars, no nothing. It'll just be an air encroachment of that 3 feet of part of the cantilevered sitting structure. We, as I mentioned, are outdoor people, and we've got a pretty nice backyard, I think. We like our plants. And what we plan to do is a grassy area that's not really part of this discussion will be removed, and it will be further enhanced with more planting. when we approached our neighbors for their permission or lack thereof, I was very happy that when we got halfway through our sentence, or first or second sentence about doing it, they said, yes, where do we sign? So you have those letters in the file from the neighbor to the east and to the west, both of whom have signed readily for us that they have no opposition. The last thing I want to say is that there is a 60-foot common ground, a strip, we'll call it, between our lot line, has nothing to do with setback, but our lot line, there's a 60-foot common ground vegetation barrier before the adjacent parcel facing Clarkson Road, pardon me, facing Clayton Road begins. So in addition to the fact that we're asking for an air cantilevered adjustment, there's still 60 foot of vegetation back there to protect anybody who may buy or build upon that land in the future. I think that's what I would like to say.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'll open the floor to any board members' questions.
I forgot one thing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
My wife and I are
Go
both
ahead.
75. My wife and I are both 75 years old. And the reason we're doing this, we've got a perfectly good patio, which we put in 2004. We moved here in 2003. But as we've aged, the steps down from the house level to the porch you saw, the white porch, if you will, and from the white porch down to the poured concrete patio are getting a little bit dicey and not so good for us to handle. So my wife has been pushing for years to raise that outdoor space to the house flooring level. And that is why we are wanting to put a deck over the patio. That was an important consideration. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, any board members have any questions for the petitioner? All right, are there any speakers in the audience who may want to speak in favor of or opposition to the request?
Again, Madam Chair, if I could provide just some direction to the attendees, if you would like to speak either in favor or opposition to this particular request, if you would not mind using the raise hand feature, I can promote you to panelist, or if you prefer, if you could put something in chat and I will do the same. Thank you. Madam Chair, could we just give him a second or two here?
Sure.
Madam Chair, it appears no one would like to participate.
All right, thank you, Director Brunich. All right, at this time, I'll offer the opportunity to hear an oral presentation of the department's report. See no request for that. I'll offer the Department of Planning the opportunity to make any final comments.
Madam Chair and members of the board, the Department of Planning is supporting this particular request. It would note that there are a couple of practical difficulties associated with it. One was the crafting of the Planned Environment Unit ordinance by St. Louis County, and the incorporation of the city of Wildwood has created a bit of a quagmire for the petitioner. And we feel in this particular instance, the request is justified. I would also note that the impact caused by the slight encroachment is minimal, if any, due to the common ground that Mr. Specker had mentioned in his presentation. The department's available for any comments or questions, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Director Brunich. Do any board members have any final comments? All right, at this time, I'd like to close the proceeding before a vote, and then I'd like to call for a vote. Do we have a motion to approve, deny, or approve with conditions?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance as requested.
Thank you, Mr. Sprunger. We have a motion to approve the variance as requested for Mr. Sprunger. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Ms. Coleman. Mr. Morris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Sprunger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Coleman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Trapani, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Your variance has been approved. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. May I speak?
Sure.
This is my first time ever doing this, and I'd like to thank, in a real simple way, Mr. Vunich, Ms. Parker, and Mr. Steve Vogel, with whom I met early on in the process. They were a big help to me in putting this together. Thank you.
Thank you.
You had a
Thank you,
good
sir.
team to work with.
All right, can we ask for the next petition to be read into the record?
Mary,
Mr. Morris.
can Kristen come back to the room back here? A resident just dropped something off.
Oh,
Kristen, can you come back and pick this up?
Well, Kristen's going to meet Mr. Morris. I do want to acknowledge to the rest of the board that we kind of twisted Chair Giles' arm to be here tonight. If you don't notice, she's on vacation out of the city, and she was kind enough to kind of forego that period and help us out. So thank you.
Director Vunich, I thought that was obvious by my sunburn.
I noticed it, Mary. I didn't know where you were.
I look purple on the screen. I just emailed Kristen. I was like, oh my gosh, do I really look like the sunburns?
So where are
Pretty
you at,
bad.
Mary?
It
What's
looked like
that?
looked like
Where are you
makeup.
at?
We are in Cape San Blas, Florida.
Ah,
Yeah.
nice.
So,
Well,
yeah.
I hope the
I
weather.
spent a little too much time on the beach today.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, Madam Chair, Ms. Parker has returned to.
All right, are we ready for the next petition?
I know that prior to reading the petition in, we received via email
Mr. Vunich just froze on me. Can you hear me?
promote
Oh,
people.
I'm
on
frozen.
it.
He's frozen on me too.
Oh,
Me too.
sorry. I'll go ahead and read the request into the record. The next case is Board of Adjustment 12-21, Randy and Mary Birkendorf, 2057 Wild Horse Creek Road, Wildwood, Missouri, 63038. Request an exception to the minimum yard requirements general for the purpose of authorizing the retention of a ground-mounted solar panel system at 2057 Wild Horse Creek Road, locator number 23X530105, Section 4, Township 44 North, Range 3 East, located north of Lehman Acres, Lot A, within the front yard setback area at a distance of 23 feet in lieu of the 50-foot standard, as well as retaining roof-mounted solar panels which are situated on their existing dwelling, visible from the abutting roadway and also encroaching into the same building line location. This request is contrary to the requirements of 415.090 NU non-urban resident district regulations of the City of Wildwood zoning ordinance. This particular property is located in Ward 1. And what I had mentioned before I froze up, we did receive right before the start of tonight's meeting information that there was a family emergency with the petitioners. I'm not sure if they're presenting tonight or going to request a postponement, but if, with your permission, I'll go ahead and enter into the record the following items. Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. The file that has been developed and maintained by the Department of Planning regarding this request and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, any evidence provided as part of tonight's hearing, that evidence including any testimony, exhibits, plats, or other items offered. Thank you. And I've got a chat from, I believe, the Sun, and I'm going to go ahead and promote him if he doesn't mind, and if you would allow, Madam Chair.
Sure.
Mr. Beckendorf, there you are. Thank you. Mr. Beckendorf noted they would like to request a 30-day postponement due to the family emergency. And so if you'd like to add anything, sir, this be an opportune time.
No, nothing to add. Thank you. I appreciate y'all's time.
Madam Chair, the department respectfully requests a motion and second to postpone to the July meeting so that the petitioners can be present. And I do want to wish them the very best, no matter what's happening right now.
Sure. Do we have a motion to postpone this until our July meeting?
I'll make a motion to postpone it.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Sprunger. Mr. Trapani, how do you vote?
Yeah, yes. Yes.
Ms. Coleman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Biden. Mr. Sprunger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Morris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I also vote yes. Good luck to you, and I hope best wishes. Hope everything's okay.
Thank you very much. We appreciate y'all's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Of course. Are we ready to proceed with the last petition?
Yes, ma'am. The last request tonight is Board of Adjustment Case 13-21, Tony Rademeyer, 17808 Suzanne Ridge Drive, Wildwood, Missouri, 63038, care of Gary Sullen, GDS Properties, 200 Clearview Drive, St. Charles, Missouri, 63303. Request an exception to the minimum yard requirements general for the purpose of replacing a modular block retaining wall system on the property at 17808 Suzanne Ridge Drive, located number 21B 430362, Oak Ridge Trail Subdivision, Plat 3, Lot 82. The petitioners are requesting a 1-foot rear yard setback distance in lieu of the 15-foot standard and an overall height of 8.5 feet, which requires a board of adjustment consideration. The request is contrary to the requirements of Chapter 415.110 R1 1 acre resident district of the City of Wildwood zoning ordinance and St. Louis County Planned Environment Unit District Ordinance Number 17648, approved by St. Louis County Council on July 14, 1995. This particular property is located in Ward 3. Madam Chair, before Ms. Parker provides the slide presentation with your permission, the department would like to introduce into the record the following items. Excuse me, Chapter 400, Article 2 of the City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the Board of Adjustment. Chapter 415 of the same City of Wildwood Municipal Code, the zoning ordinance. The file that has been developed and maintained by the Department of Planning regarding this particular request, and all contents contained therein, including the department's report with recommendation. And then finally, any evidence offered as part of tonight's hearing, that evidence including any exhibits, testimony, plats, maps, or other items offered. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Director Munich. We are ready for the slide presentation, Ms. Parker.
Okay. Here's an overview of the area. The home is right here in the little blue rectangle. It is off of Suzanne Ridge Drive and Oak Ridge Trail Subdivision. It is east of 109, which is right here. And it is in between Wild Horse Creek and Clayton as the big major roads that are around there. Here's an overview of the property. It's showing the existing home and the existing sport court that is back here in the back. It's a 2-story home. The backyard is fully fenced in, and this is common ground that is behind the property. And the lot is a little bit over 18,100 square feet. And here we see the elevations. Front part of the lot is generally flat, but then the side yard and the rear yard slopes down into the back, the lowest point being back here behind the sport court. This is the front of petitioner's home. This is the property to the left of petitioner's home. And looking to in between the left and the petitioner's home on the left side of the home, you see the fence back there. And walking up to the fence, looking into the rear yard area from that left side. You see the existing deck, elevated deck. And this is kind of a high point over here of this backyard too. Here's the property to the right of petitioner's home. And here standing at the sidewalk, looking on the right side of the home towards the backyard. And then at the spot, looking over the fence on the right side. You'll see the patio and the elevated deck areas over here, sport court area back here. A little bit closer up view of the sport court. And the retaining wall we are talking about is going to be right here on the other side of there at that edge. A side view of the sport court. That retaining wall is over here to the right. You see the fence all around. Now I've stepped through the fence and I am standing behind the property here looking at the sport court up here and this subject retaining wall that we're talking about. Another view looking back of the home, deck, sport court, and this retaining wall. I'm over there on the left side of the property, looking down here, and you'll see the area here, which is giving way. Closer up picture of that showing the retaining wall. And as I said, this is part of the Oak Ridge Trails subdivision. And this is looking, I'm standing in front of the home, which is to the left of me, looking up towards the entrance of the subdivision. And they do live right here at this cul-de-sac, so I was looking towards the cul-de-sac. The property is here, right here to the right. And here shows the petitioner's property. And we've got the property line here outlined in red. See purple is the fencing that is around. This dark blue area is the home. The green area here is the sport court. And we see that the setback is right here. And this existing wall is 1.5 feet from this property line. We did receive 2 comments. This is petitioner's home and the 2 comments in support that we received. We did not receive any not in support. The department would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Parker. If there aren't any questions for the Department of Planning, at this time I'd like to call the petitioner forward and ask you to state your name, address in relation to the property, and then be sworn in by the court reporter.
Hi, Tony Rademeyer and my wife, Debbie Rademeyer, who's not present. We are the owners of 17808 Suzanne Ridge Drive, Wildwood, Missouri, 63038.
Thank you, Mr. Rademeyer. If you can be sworn in by our court reporter.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rademeyer. At this time, can you explain the nature of your request and the hardship or practical difficulty necessitating the variance as it relates to the character of your property?
Yeah, sure. Thank you all for your time this evening. Basically, as you can see, the wall is breaching. And so based on we've had several opinions over the last couple of years, it's started getting worse and worse. And so we're just worried about the safety hazard in general, and we want to preserve the sport port as is, but correct the issue. And that means that we're going to have to replace that existing retaining wall and put in a more modernized approach to what the existing structure was. We inherited this sport port when we purchased the house. It'll be 6 years ago when we bought it in 2015. So I have our contractors on the line to go through any of the specifics on their approach. But there appears to be a drainage issue, as you can tell from, I've heard comments earlier about water, and those are true sometimes, because you can see what happens, what water can do. But it's really just because of the way it was constructed is the reason for the breach of that. But really the hardship is really just to kind of construct it to solve that issue and to make it safe, and also improve the look in the community. As you can imagine, it looks kind of bad.
Thank you, Mr. Rademeyer. Do any board members have any questions for the petitioner at this time? All right. Are there any speakers in the audience who may want to speak in favor of or opposition to the request?
Madam Chair, there are no attendees.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vunich. At this time, I'd offer the opportunity to hear an oral presentation of the department's report, if there are any requests. Seeing none, does the Department of Planning have any final comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, and thank you. Madam Chair and members of the board, the Department of Planning is recommending the support of the board for this particular request. Two principal reasons for that support relate to the impact. As is referenced in the department's report, behind the petitioner's property is a large area of heavily wooded common ground. So there'll be no impact, so to speak, on anyone to the east. And then secondly, to deny the wall variance would require, obviously, that the outdoor game court be also modified, and the department did not see a particular benefit to the city of Wildwood or the community as a whole to require such. And therefore, again, we are supporting the request as submitted.
Thank you, Director Vunich. Does anybody on the board have any final comments? All right, at this time, I'd like to close the proceeding for a vote and ask for a motion to approve, deny, or approve with conditions.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance as requested.
Thank you, Mr. Sprunger. Mr. Sprunger has made a motion to approve the variance as requested. Do we have a second?
I will second that, Mary.
Thank you. We have a second from Ms. Coleman. Mr. Morris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Sprunger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Coleman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Trapani, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Mr. Rademeyer, your variance request has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, that's the last case on our docket tonight, and I'd want to thank all of you for attending. Again, to the chair while on vacation. Obviously, we can't do this without all of you, so you're an integral part of what we do here at the City of Wildwood. So thank you again.
Thank you, Director Vunich.
Welcome.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.